everyone, it's Channin here for Honeybee Stamps. In today's video, we are going to create this summer card featuring the new Bicycle Builder honey cuts, as well as the Writing By stamps and dies. We're going to start off by building our bicycle. We're going to use the Bicycle Builder honey cuts to do that. I'm going to take all the dies here and just die cut them out of some plain heavyweight white cardstock first. So these are all the dies in the set. After I've die cut them out of the white cardstock, I'm going to add color by ink blending. So I have several distressed oxides picked out. I'm going to start with the actual kind of frame of the bike and first ink blend it in Speckled Egg Distress Oxide. This is a nice light kind of blue-gray color. Once I kind of ink blend it with that, I'll then move on to a darker shade. I'm going to be using Evergreen Bough. This is just going to add a little shadow, so I'm kind of adding it on the left side here and a little bit by the handlebars. Again, just add a little shadow so it has a little bit more shape and depth. And then I'll ink blend this ring with that Evergreen Bough as well. Now moving on to the basket and the handlebars, first starting out with Old Paper, which is my light color, kind of ink blending the whole entire surface of the basket and the little handlebars with that. Then I'll move on to my darker shade, which is Frayed Burlap, and I'm just going to ink blend the sides of the basket to again give it that look of some shape, and I'll ink blend the little bit, just a little bit of the handles, again just to give a little bit of that darker shade on there but not completely lose my Old Paper. Now we're ready to finish up here with the wheel and the handlebars. I'm going to start with, or I'm actually just going to ink blend these with Ice Spruce, which is kind of a gray color. Ink blend kind of the spokes of the wheel because that's really all you're going to see on that wheel piece, and the metal part of the handlebars. So now I'm ready to kind of put this together. First thing I'm going to do is add some glue to the wheel and top it off with that tire piece. That I actually did not ink blend, so that's completely white. Nothing was done to that. And now I'm going to grab that little ring and just add some glue to the back of that and place that right on top of that wheel, right in the center. Now I'm going to move on to the handles for the handlebars, just adhere them right onto that gray handlebar, and that will of course get adhered on to the bike frame as well. So now I'm just going to flip this over, add some liquid glue to the bike frame and stick that guy down. So now that I have that's basically all of my bike pieces assembled, I'm going to adhere them in place on the card when I'm ready for that. Now I'm going to move on to some images. I have the Writing By stamp set here. This is kind of the coordinating stamp set with that Bicycle Builder die set. I just pulled off some of the flowers from that set, stamped them in intense black ink onto some white cardstock, and now I'm going to Copic color these images. Because I wanted to give this card kind of a summer vibe, I'm sticking with really warm colors of yellows, oranges, even a little bit of brown. For these flowers here, I first colored the flowers with a light yellow, then a darker yellow for the center of the petals. Then here for the center of the flowers, I have an orange and then a little bit of brown to kind of make the centers pop. Now I'm moving on to my orange flowers, starting with a kind of orange yellow, then moving on to a nice orange for the center of the petals, and then finishing up with that kind of terracotta, that E08 that I used for the center of the yellow flowers. Now for the leaves, I have two greens picked out, kind of an olivey green. Again, I want more of this warm, almost end of summer kind of feel. And once I finished coloring that main bouquet, I went ahead off camera and colored the other flowers and then die cut them out with the matching dies. Now I'm going to move on to creating a frame. I have the A2 double stitched frame dies here and an A2 panel of white cardstock, and I just ran that larger die through with the A2 panel, and that creates a nice frame. Then I'm going to move on to my background. I'm going to use a piece of pattern paper here from the Playful Pastels paper pad. This is a really soft yellow piece of paper, and I went ahead and trimmed that down to an A2 panel. And now I'm going to adhere these to my card front. I'm going to use a tape runner for my piece of pattern paper, just center that and place that down on my card front. And then for that frame, I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue here. I'm going to use the Precision Glue from Honeybee, just squeeze it out into that frame and stick that guy down as well. And that will be kind of like the base for our little scene that we're going to create. So now that that is done, we're going to move on to arranging all of our die cuts. I'm going to start by assembling the bike here, kind of keeping the edge of the bike over to the left side so it's nice and seamless, and then arrange all my flowers. Once I have all of my die cuts arranged the way I want, I'll then grab a big piece of press and seal, and then I will place it over all of these die cuts to pick them up. Because some of these die cuts are laying on top of each other, I'm going to sort out how to level that out later, but I just want to pick them all up first, kind of where I want them arranged. I went ahead and die cut a couple more bike frames and basket, and this is what I'm going to use to kind of even out the kind of varying heights, or the fact that these die cuts are layered on top of each other. I'm going to start by snipping off this little extra piece here from the bike frame, because that piece is what's laying on top of the wheel, and then I will add glue to those two frames and adhere them on top of each other on my ink blended one, to the back side of my ink blended one. They're all stacked up here. I lost kind of the footage there of me actually stacking them, but they're all stacked up now. Now I'm going to go on to the basket. Now the basket has a little place where some of the leaves are overlapping, or one little leaf piece is overlapping with the basket. So I trimmed off one of my layers of the basket, then adhere that down just to make room, or just to make sure I don't bump into that leaf bit. And then I'm going to layer my last layer of basket on. Now the number of layers I'm doing is determined by the number of layers that it's going over. So the flowers are going over the bike, and the bike frame right now is actually 3 layers, so I need to make the basket layer the same. I promise this will make more sense when you are doing it yourself. I know it seems a little bit confusing, and you can totally skip this step. It's not necessary, but I really like everything to be nice and level and really secure. I don't like it when things are really kind of popping over something and just doesn't look quite right. Here for the flowers, they get 3 layers of cardstock because they're going over the basket and the bike frame, which are 3 layers. And then I will just add a couple more strips of paper to even out these flowers down here at the bottom. And then I'm going to add a couple layers to that little leaf section that was overlapping the basket a little bit. And that will actually complete all of my kind of leveling out of my die cuts. Again, definitely not something you have to do, but I think it just makes it look a little bit more professional and clean cut. So now I'm going to place my card in my MISTI, because I'm going to stamp my sentiment. I do have my die cuts here kind of arranged where I want them to go to, because I need to know where my sentiment is going to fall. So once I get my sentiment in the right place, I pick it up with my MISTI and then remove my press and seal with all my die cuts, because I want to put that down later just in case I somehow accidentally get ink onto those die cuts while I stamp them, or while I'll stamp the sentiment. So now that my sentiment is stamped, I'm ready to finish this up by adhering all these die cuts. So I'm just going to add liquid glue to the back side of these and then flip it over and stick it down. It's so handy that the press and seal is see-through, so you can really make sure that your die cuts are lining up to your sentiment. And then I'll carefully peel away the press and seal. Now I have one little flower that didn't get any adhesive on it because I didn't add any layers of cardstock to it. It doesn't actually touch the back of the background, so add a little glue to that and stuck that into the wheel, and now my card is complete. I'll hold it to the camera here to get a good look at all the details in this fun summer card. I think these bicycle builder dies are so cool, and I love the writing by stamp set that allows you to kind of fill that basket with different things like flowers. There's even a little grouping of packages, and I love that curved sentiment that goes with it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If any questions about the products I use, please check out the links below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.